But Helen Undy is Chief Executive of the Money and Mental Health Policy Institute, and Helen joins us now. Hi, Helen.
Hi.
How concerned are you about the level of energy debts in this country?
I mean, we're really concerned, but we're concerned to see the numbers going up. But more than that, we've been really concerned about what our research has told us about the experiences of the people behind those numbers. As Sophie illustrated so clearly in your report, being behind on your bills, being in debt can be a horrible experience for people with a huge impact on their mental health. But that is being exacerbated by aggressive and really fast debt collection in both energy and council tax in particular. So we know in the energy sector, people are being threatened by disconnection and bailiffs, and that's particularly affecting people with severe mental health conditions. So people with conditions like schizophrenia, if you imagine what it's like to have your energy, your internet, your gas cut off when you're living in quite an isolated way, often anyway, that can be hugely impactful. But in council tax, what we're seeing is, as your report illustrated, you go from one missed payment, so which might be 100, 150 pounds, through to suddenly being billed for the rest of the year, which could be over £1,000. And within 6 weeks, you can have bailiffs on your doorstep demanding that full bill and a court summons. And we know that people just aren't able to meet that. So we are really concerned about the impact that that's having on people now, and particularly that it's going to have on people going through this winter.
And that is out for consultation. Peter was just telling us on both of these issues about how this can be better managed with people, with customers at the centre of it going forward. What needs to change on that? I mean, do all councils use bailiffs still, or have some moved on?
I think there are two key things that we want to see change. One is more support so that fewer people end up in debt in the future. So things like a social tariff in energy that would reduce bills for those least able to pay, and more financial support for people who can't pay their council tax, which means local authorities being properly funded by national government. But then on the other side, we want to see proper support for those who are in debt now. So that means more compassionate and supportive debt collection. As you say, not every council does use bailiffs. There are some councils who've moved to a more supportive approach for collecting council tax. And what we're hearing from those councils is that that hasn't had a negative impact on their ability to collect the council tax debt. Because actually, when you threaten people, when you send around the bailiffs, when you send those scary letters, you can cause people to disengage rather than reach out for help to reach a repayment plan that they actually can afford. So we would like to see the length of time people have to pay extended. We'd like a reduction in the unfair fees and charges that get piled on top of those debts when you're faced by bailiffs and court summons. We'd like to see the threat of disconnection reduced so that people aren't too afraid to engage. So there's lots of things that can happen now. And a debt write-off scheme is really welcome, and we think it could make a big difference, but it does need to happen soon.
When might we know the result of these two reviews that are going on, and everything you just said, which kind of makes perfect sense? People get paid eventually, but the companies get paid. When might we see a conclusion to that?
So I think a lot of it is up to the sort of political timetable. The consultation on improving council tax collection, as you said, it closes this week. We don't know exactly when we'll hear a response from the government, but with changing ministers, it's just moved under a new minister again. That may have lengthened that timetable, and we really can't afford that. So you can't afford for kind of political factors to mean that people face even longer struggling with those council tax debts. And I know that we're due to hear from Ofgem in the autumn, and the scheme was hopefully going to be introduced next year on debt write-off, but it really can't come soon enough.
Thanks for joining us, Helen. Helen Undy, Chief Executive of the Money and Mental Health Policy Institute.